The Wise Queen and the Ignorant King. Once upon a time, in a beautiful kingdom, there lived a wise queen named Isabella. She had long golden hair and a gentle smile. The people loved her because she always cared for them and gave great advice. But her husband, King Edward, was not as wise. He was strong and brave, but often ignored the queen's advice. One sunny morning, the king was in his grand hall, looking at a map. He wanted to expand the kingdom and make it bigger. The queen walked in and saw the map. "Good morning, my dear King Edward," she said. "What are you planning today?" "I am planning to take more land from the kingdom next to us," the king replied with a grin. "It will make us stronger." The queen frowned. "But, my king, that could lead to war. We need to be careful. Fighting is not the answer. It would be better to talk to their king and find a peaceful way." King Edward waved his hand. "You worry too much, Isabella. I am a strong king. I can protect our kingdom. I will not listen to you." The queen sighed. She knew her husband meant well, but he did not understand the importance of peace. As days passed, King Edward continued to make plans for war. One day, a messenger came to the castle. He looked worried. "Your Majesty," he said, "the neighboring kingdom is angry. They say they will fight if we do not leave their land alone." King Edward stood tall and said, "Let them come. We will show them our strength." The queen was worried. She tried to speak again, but the king would not listen. "Please, Edward, we must find a way to stop this war before it starts," she begged. But the king shook his head. "I will not talk to them. We will fight." The queen felt sad but decided to prepare for the worst. She gathered the people of the kingdom and told them to get ready. "We must protect ourselves, but let us hope for peace," she said. The people trusted Queen Isabella. They knew she was wise. As the days went by, the two kingdoms prepared for battle. The soldiers sharpened their swords, and the queen prayed for peace. But King Edward was too focused on winning to listen to her. Then, one dark day, the war began. The sound of drums filled the air, and the soldiers marched out to fight. King Edward led the charge, feeling brave and proud. But the queen stayed back, worrying for everyone in the kingdom. As the battle raged on, the king soon realized that it was not as easy as he thought. The enemy kingdom was strong and had many brave soldiers. King Edward fought hard, but the battle was fierce. The queen watched from the castle, her heart heavy. She could see that their kingdom was losing. "This is terrible," she whispered. "If only the king had listened to me." After hours of fighting, the battle came to an end. King Edward returned to the castle, but his face was not proud. He looked tired and sad. Many of his soldiers had been hurt, and their kingdom was now in danger. As he walked into the castle, the queen ran to him. "Edward, what happened?" she asked, her eyes full of concern. "The battle was lost," the king said, his voice shaking. "We were too proud. We should have listened to you, Isabella." Tears filled the queen's eyes. "It's not too late. We can still work together to fix this. We must reach out to the other kingdom and ask for peace." With regret in his heart, King Edward nodded. "You are right, my queen. I should have listened to you. Let us send a message to their king. We must stop this war." The queen quickly wrote a letter asking for peace and forgiveness. They sent the message to the other kingdom. Days felt like years as they waited for a reply. Finally, a messenger arrived. He looked relieved. "The king of the other kingdom has agreed to meet you," he said. "He wants to talk." King Edward was grateful. "Thank you, Isabella. You were right. I should have listened to you from the beginning." The queen smiled. "Together, we can bring peace." The next day, King Edward and Queen Isabella met with the other king. They sat down in a big hall and talked about their kingdoms. The queen spoke wisely about how peace was better than war. The other king listened carefully. After a long discussion, they shook hands. "Let us work together for our people," said the other king. "We can be friends instead of enemies." The two kings agreed to share their land and resources. They promised to help each other and to keep the peace. When King Edward returned to his kingdom, the people cheered. "Hurrah for the king! Hurrah for the queen!" they shouted. The kingdom was saved, and everyone was happy. King Edward learned an important lesson that day. He realized that listening to his wise queen was the best thing he could do. From then on, King Edward always sought his queen's advice. Together, they ruled the kingdom with wisdom and love. They worked hard to make their kingdom a place where everyone felt safe and happy. And so, Queen Isabella and King Edward lived peacefully in their kingdom. They showed that sometimes listening to those who are wise can help everyone avoid trouble.